Hi, I'm Days and welcome back to Book Break. Today I'm going to be showing you the ultimate guide to one of my favourite authors ever, Olivie Blake. Olivie Blake is a New York Times bestselling author, probably best known for writing the Atlas series, and she writes stories about love, she writes stories about fantasy. The magic systems that she creates really are so atmospheric and transport you into a whole different world. I love her writing. Her characters are so morally grey all of the time that you never know whether you're supposed to root for them, whether you're not supposed to root for them, and overall, as an author, Olivie Blake is just phenomenal. She is outstanding. But since 2022, quite a few of her books have been published, and it can get a little bit confusing, so I'm going to take you through the best order I think that you should read her books in. Now, of course, you can go down the route of publication order, which we will get into in a minute, but I do have my own order, Days' version, if you will, that I think really encapsulates Olivie Blake's writing style in a way that makes it really accessible, because Olivie Blake is like no other author. How she writes is so individualized to the point where you can pick up a book and you'll just know if it is her writing. The first book that we picked up was The Atlas 6. This was originally released in 2021, but actually we picked it up in 2022 and it has now become a traditionally published series. The Atlas 6 follows 6 initiates into the secret society of the Library of Alexandria, except only 5 of them can go through to the next round. So what's going to happen to that first person? Olivie basically says this is trauma with science. So if you're into that, this is the one for you. After the Atlas 6, we also picked up Alone with You in the Ether, which is not a romance, but more a love story. We have Aldo and Regan, who basically are falling in love with one another whilst having their own mental struggles, and we're realizing that they actually are becoming dependent and reliant on one another, and in what cases is that good, and in what cases does that not work for their relationship. It's such a heartwarming story. At points it can get quite cozy, but at points it can get very real and very human, and I think this is a really great insight into the complex mind of Olivie. Okay, that's June 2022. Now for my favorite book, not just of Olivie's, but of all time. One for My Enemy. Picture this, a Romeo and Juliet retelling, except they're witches. Yeah. Witch gangs. That is what this book is offering. So vivid with familial revenge, the idea of familial love over romantic love, and what comes first. Is it better to be selfish in love? There's so much packed into this book. And don't even get me started on the artwork. In every book that we've published so far by Olivie, apart from Alone with You in the Ether, there is artwork in the book, which I feel like, again, just adds to the individual element of Olivie's work. And the artist is Little Chimera, which Little Chimera just does incredible pieces. Then in the same year, we also published The Atlas Paradox, which is the sequel to The Atlas 6. This book throws a curveball, put it that way. What you expect to happen, it's crazy. This is a crazy time. If you're looking for a story about a vampire real estate agent who's trying to sell a haunted house, but the ghost of the house won't leave, and so they decide to hire a medium, and of course that medium just happens to be the godson of Death, but Death himself has gone missing, I feel like you'll really like Masters of Death. The cast of characters in this is colourful, it's vibrant, it's so full of personality. We have species of all different folklore, we have mythical creatures. It's just such a wonderful reading experience, and it's so funny. This is the funniest Olivie book you will read. At points, I literally was trying to hold in my laughter because I was in public reading this, and it just really gets me. The banter in this is top tier. And then late last year we published The Atlas Complex, which is the conclusion to the Atlas 6 series. If anybody has ever seen me on TikTok cry over this book, not me. This is a heartbreaking book, but not for the reasons you expect, which is me being cryptic, because you need to go and read this and understand it. I don't know why Olivie feels the need to just rip my heart out all the time, but hey, I still love her for it. And then on the day you're watching this video, we have finally published and released January's. I've been waiting for this book for so long. This is Olivie's short story collection. I have read this short story collection and I think it touches on so many important topics in such a succinct way that it really hits home and really hits hard. Artwork in this book, just like the others, is stunning, except the artist for this one is polarts_ on Instagram if you want to go check them out. I mean, just look at this. You wouldn't get that anywhere else, only in an Olivie book. My favourite from this collection is most definitely Fates and Consequences. It's so funny and it makes so much sense as well. I think with the short story collection, what is so interesting is how everything makes sense. Even if it doesn't really, it still does. Once Olivie finishes her entire arc of writing and the entire plot, you get to the end and you think, oh, that's what she was on about in the beginning. I love a story that you can really get your teeth into and understand it so deeply that by the end you're kind of like, wow, and it's going to stick with you. So that's publication order. Now for my order, because I definitely think it can be daunting going into a brand new author who has so many books and you don't know where to start. So let's take a deep breath and I'm going to show you what I think is a really, really good way to get into Olivie's works, to understand Olivie as an author and as a writer and as, more than anything, a storyteller. So the same as publication order, we're going to start. I think starting off with the Atlas 6 is the best way to go because it's the one that kind of reaches the most people. And also a great thing about Olivie Blake's work is that if you don't like one book, that's completely fine because she has something for everybody. The Dark Academia book in this, I think, really develops the idea of character building individually. Although they're all together in this book, Olivie Blake really builds on the characters individually so you get to know them and you get to understand them in their complex ways because, like I said, they are very morally grey, especially in this book. Not at first, but later on. So I think this is a great starting point because also so many other people have read it. You can probably talk about it with somebody else and just get to have like a little book club vibe with them. So I definitely think starting with the Atlas 6 is it's just a good point. I just recommend it. Then I recommend going into One for My Enemy. Because you know the story already, the idea of Romeo and Juliet, I think it's good to have some background knowledge. So going into this one, you get to understand relationships more. The Atlas 6, it was characters. With One for My Enemy, it's the idea of relationships and the idea of being selfish as opposed to being selfless. What is also incredible about this book is you don't actually know who the Romeo and Juliet characters are until so far into the book that it really takes you by surprise when the inevitable happens, and the whole time you're just really hoping that this retelling is just that, a retelling, because you just don't want anything bad to happen to these characters because you love them so much. But yeah, this is definitely my favourite one, as I mentioned before, and I think it's a great showcase of building relationships. Now once you've done the Atlas 6 and you've done One for My Enemy, because obviously we do not want to forget what's happened in the Atlas 6, we're going to go back into the Atlas Paradox. Because you know the relationships Olivie builds from One for My Enemy, coming into this now and seeing how all of the characters that you already know interact with one another and how they work as a dynamic is so refreshing to see. This one feels a little bit more like picking sides, picking teams. We're choosing an alliance in this one. It feels like once you have a team, you feel so loyal to them and to their ideas and what they're wanting to do. It's, yeah, hearts will be broken, put it that way. Hearts will be broken, friendships are tested, and Olivie Blake knows how to do it well. Get the tissues ready because we are going to finish the Atlas series. We're going to go into the Atlas Complex. Luckily for you, you get to read all of these books one after the other if you wanted to. Imagine reading the Atlas Paradox so quickly that you had to wait a whole other year for the Atlas Complex to be released. Yeah. It was a struggle, but luckily for you, you can read them straight away. All I will say about this one is I think it's just a good point to put it right in the middle because good luck. You'll need it. Thoughts and prayers. I love this book with all my heart. 5 stars. And because we've just gone through absolute trauma, absolute heartbreak, it's time to get some love back in there. And there's nothing better to go as a little bit of love and a little bit of light than Alone with You in the Ether. I would recommend annotating this because you'll read it and you'll be like, how is that quote that has attached itself to my soul? This is a book that you'll just keep wanting to go back to over and over again, to revisit these characters, to look at the language, the actual words that Olivie uses in relation to these people and the ideas she has, how they're feeling. It feels like she's holding up a mirror at points to yourself. It feels too real. It feels too real. Like I said, this is more a love story than a romance. It doesn't really hit the romance beats, but it does hit the overall whimsicalness of a love story, and that's why I love them. Alder and Regan are just, love them so much. And of course, we want a little bit of comedy. We want something to lighten the mood. We want some fun. We want something that's a little bit chaotic, and that is this book. If I could describe Masters of Death in one word, it would be chaotic. This book is actually written out of chronological order. It's all over the place, and by the end, when you finally finish the book and you put it down, this is what I mean about Olivie creating this entire arc so that you get to the end and you understand the beginning. That is this book in a nutshell. Chaos, fun, excitement, and thrill. And if anybody wants to know who my favourite character is, it is Tom the Ghost. He really cracks me up. It's the dry humour for me. And finally, to complete your Olivie Blake journey, Januaries. Having a short story collection just feels so nice because you can pick it up and put it down and you can read an entire story and be in an entire world for such a short amount of time. You really get to envision them and feel as though you lived it, and there's still so much more to come. The book is split into quarters and they're distinguished by seasons, so this is spring. Like I said, absolutely love this book. The animation games and Fates and Consequences just hit the mark every single time, and I think it's a nice denouement into a bit of a relaxing time. The stakes aren't mega high because these stories are so short. You get to just relax and read and enjoy without any stress of worrying about what Olivie is going to do to her characters and do to hers. But of course we love her. We love her for causing us pain, which make it make sense. So that is my order that I think you should read all of Olivie. These are very heavy. All of Olivie Blake's books in. Let me know what your favorite Olivie Blake book is because we can have a good old chat about it in the comments, because I am nothing if not obsessive about this woman and her books. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and on TikTok, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!